Hi, welcome to Engineering. Today we're going to be doing a video on height of instrument method, which is a method, a table method we use to calculate heights for our points that we took readings of in a land survey. Alright, so this method is very similar to the rise and fall method. I did a video about this a week ago, so they're very similar videos, so please look at that video first as they complement each other. I explain some concepts there that I might not necessarily cover in this video, even though I'll try. But yes, alright, so the difference between this method and the previous method of the rise and fall method is that this method is better suited for a survey with more intermediate sites. So just to give you a little demonstration, this is now a land survey that has been done with 3 setups in the survey. And as I said in the previous video, your back sites and your fore sites are your first and last readings respectively. So in this example, I can show you, here's our first setup. We have a back site, which would be the first reading that was recorded for this setup. Then we had 2 intermediate sites, and then we had a fore site, which was our last reading. Then when you move your setup from the first setup to the second one, then you'll see that we take a new back site. You see this new back site. But now this back site is our previous fore site. Please remember that. The back site will always be the previous fore site. So your first reading will be your last reading. Alright, then in the setup they took intermediate heights, and then they took a last reading, which was the fore site again. Then they moved setups. Then your back site for that setup will be your fore site from your previous setup. And they continued the survey until their last point where they did a back site again. Alright, so this is the table we have for our height of instrument method. Just take note that these values are not the values from the diagram I showed you. It's a new example. So when you get the table, these will be your different readings that you've taken. You can see I color coded the setups, so the green will be the first setup, blue second, yellow third, this color will be the fourth, and then last will be the fifth. Alright, and then we also had a final heights for our benchmarks. So this was our first benchmark, and this is the second benchmark readings we took. Benchmarks are points of fixed height, so we know that those were the heights of those benchmarks. So in this example, the benchmark at A had a final height or elevation of 100 meters above sea level, while F was 104.430 above sea level. Then we have our back sites, intermediate sites, and front sites, or fore sites. That's the same as the rise and fall. The difference we have though is we have the height of instrument, and then we have our reduced heights, corrections, and final heights as well. Alright, so the first thing you do is you take your final height and make it assume that it's a reduced height, and you take that 100 and you basically move it to your first reduced height level. Now the first thing we have to do is we have to calculate what is the height of our instrument for the first setup. So what you do is you take this reduced height plus your back side of 3.895, and you add them together to get your height of instrument. Then from there you will basically take every intermediate site and fore site in that setup and you subtract it from the height of instrument. In this case we only have a fore site, so you'll say 103.895 minus the 1.230, and it'll give you your next reduced height. Alright, so that was the last reading of the setup, so we have to start a new setup. So yeah, we'll take this new reduced height that we had, we'll add our back site once again, and we'll get the new height of instrument for the new setup. Now we are going to take this height of instrument with our intermediate site and our fore site or front site, and we're going to subtract them from that height of instrument. So we start with the first one, the 104 minus this value, the intermediate site, give us our reduced height. The next one, we'll use the same height of instrument because it's still the same setup, and we'll subtract our fore site or front site, and then we'll get our reduced height. So now those are the 2 heights for this setup, the blue one, the second one. Then we'll repeat for the third, once again, reduced height plus our back site gives us our new height of instrument. We only have one fore site in the setup. So we're going to say our height of instrument minus the foresight gives us our reduced height. And for this big setup, we once again have to calculate our height of instrument. So once again, reduced height plus our backside gives us our height of instrument. Alright, and now this height of instrument has quite a few intermediate sights and then one foresight as usual. So we'll say height of instrument minus this value gives us reduced height, this one minus that, this one minus that, and then lastly this one minus our foresight. So it's the same step over and over. You basically calculate your height of instrument by saying your reduced height of your last point of the previous setup plus your backside gives you your new height of instrument. And then you use that height of instrument, subtract either intermediate sight or foresight to get your reduced height. Now you can see we've calculated all our reduced heights. So these are just our assumptions or our calculated values. They're not final. We may have errors, so we have to do a correction and final height. But first we have to do a check to see if we've done our calculations right up until this point. So we'll start by saying adding all our backsides, same as the rise and fall method. Take all your backsides, you add them together, and you get 14.125. Then you take all your front sides, you add them all together, and you get your 9.690. So you say your backsides minus your intermediate side, minus your front sides, and you get this value of 4.435. Then what we'll do is we'll take our last reduced height minus our first one, and you'll get 4.435. This value and this value are the same, then we know we've done our calculations correctly up until this point. However, please remember, if you wrote down one of your readings wrong, you can still do all the calculations correctly, but your answers might not be right because one of your readings are wrong. Alright, so as I said, we now have to calculate the corrections. So there's human error, error of the machine, anything that went wrong through the survey, we have to calculate that error. So we're going to say our final height that we know from this benchmark minus the one we calculated, and we get negative 0.005. And then, as I showed in the rise and fall video, we'll basically take this value divided by our number of setups. In this case we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 setups. There are 5 back sides. We can also check the front sides. There are 5 front sides as well. So we know there are 5 setups. So we say our overall correction divided by 5, and then we times it by the number of our setup. So for setup 1, it will be times 1. For setup 2, we're going to say that value times 2, so we get negative 0.002. We're going to do it again for the setup. Then we're going to say times 3 for setup 3. For setup 4, we're going to say times 4 for each of the corrections. And then we have setup 5's correction, because that was our overall correction. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take all our reduced heights plus our correction to give us our final heights. So we're going to say 102.665 plus our negative 0.001, and we're going to get 102.664. So we do that step for every reduced height with every correction, and then we have all our final heights. Alright, so this is a rough summary. The rise and fall method, the objects that can be applied for the height of collimation method, as we showed you. You treat the BS and FS observations as one entity and IS observations as another. Alright, then we have the checks that we did, where we say our total backsides minus our total foresights equals to our last reduced level or reduced height minus the first one. And then for our last check we have this big calculation. So this is all our reduced heights minus the first one. You don't include the very first one. Should equal to the sum of each height of instrument times the number of IS or FS in that station, minus your total intermediate sights plus your foresights. So the way we do this is there's the formula. First we have to calculate the number of reduced heights, or the sum of the reduced heights. So we're going to take all these reduced heights, all of them except that first one, and we're going to add them all together, and we should get 924.165. Then we're going to do our total height of instruments times the amount of intermediate sites and foresights in that setup. So the way we do this is we say, alright, our first height of instrument is 103.895 times the amount of intermediate sites and foresights in that setup. In this case, there's no intermediate sites, there's only one foresight, so we say times 1. The next example, we're going to use this 104 times 2 because there's one intermediate site and one foresight, so there are 2 values there. For the third one, we again have only one foresight, so we're going to say 105 times 1 to get our next intermediate site, or to get the next value. Then we're going to add this 105 times 1, 2, 3, 4 values, because there's 3 intermediate sites and 1 foresight, so it's going to be 105.345 times 4. And the last one we have again the height of instrument times 1, because there's only one foresight. Then the formula says minus the sum, or your intermediate sites, so we add up those 4 values and we get 12.635. We add up all our foresights and we get a total of 9.69. And then we say that value minus the sum of all those values, which we did here, and then we should get an answer that's the same as the sum of our reduced heights. If those two are the same, then it shows like once again that that's a check, so we've done our calculations correctly. I hope that helps you guys. Please recommend any changes we should make to our videos, or if you have any questions, please put them in the comments, and thank you very much.